Tonight I'm going to be talking about open source intelligence. I will try not to talk so fast that it is done in 10 minutes. That's a bad habit of mine. This is about tools and methodology, but I want to preface it by saying if you are into open source intelligence, if this is something you want to do, try not to lean too heavily on tools because they change constantly. All right, let me see. There we go. All right. So a little bit about me. I always find these intros weird, but I think that it is good to go over since I am not actually from an IT field. My name is Ray Baker. I am Wondersmith_Ray on Twitter. I'm actually a former graphic designer, or I guess I'll always be a graphic designer, but I was a graphic designer for 15 years and just kind of got bored with it and decided that I would start going into security. And from there, I actually attended the Layer 8 conference and played in the Trace Labs Capture the Flag, and then I was hooked in OSINT. So from there, I started writing blogs in open source intelligence and just like random things that I found interesting. And now I work at one of the big 4 consulting companies as an OSINT analyst. I'm also on the OSINT Curious Advisory Board, and I volunteer with Operation Safe Escape. So for those of you that don't know what OSINT is, open source intelligence is publicly available data for intelligence gathering. So this is like location of things, careers people have, conversations they're holding, financial documents, domain information, social media, anything that's passive. So this isn't like, you know, talking to a friend of a friend or breaking into their network. It's completely passive recon. So the stages of an OSINT investigation, as I see them, is the collection phase. So that's when you would be collecting all your information, trolling Google and social media and documents online and pulling all that together. And then the second phase would be the analysis phase. So that's when you're taking all that information and you're going through it to make sure that it is valid, that you're not like inserting any kind of bias into it, that it all makes sense. And then as you can see, the arrow kind of goes back to the collection phase because at that point you might realize you have some more information that you need to research. And that kind of goes in a circle until the end of time or until you hit your deadline and you have to report it. So reporting would be the third phase. So the collection phase, there are a lot of tools to help with this. Admittedly, I just kind of dump everything into a Word file, but there are some tools like Vortimo is a free tool, and that's that top picture there. So that lets you pull information as you're searching, and you can tag things and save pictures so that you can like put a report together at the end. Another site or another tool for that is Hunchly, which kind of does the same thing. Hunchly is pay though, and Vortimo is free. Another way you can do it is through flowcharts. A lot of people like using flowcharts and mind maps. And organization overall is super important when you're doing an OSINT investigation because oftentimes, if you're working in the field doing it, the management always says, like, can you tell us how you found that info? And if you don't log that in the beginning, if you don't write down exactly the steps you took to find that, the report ends up being kind of useless because you can't recreate it or say why it's important. The analysis phase is a deeper dive into the information you've just gathered. So this would be taking all that information and then pivoting through all of it. So if you have a name, a full name, then maybe you can find their address, and maybe from their address you can find their phone number. And you just kind of got to pivot through all of the information until you exhaust it. And then, like I said before, you'd have to verify all of them, make sure that, you know, if you're looking at one Ray Baker, that it's not actually a different Ray Baker that you're reporting on. And checking bias, you know, make sure that you are not putting your experiences into and opinions into the data. Just report the truth, like the facts, what is actually there. Some questions that you will be asked is, you know, is this info valid? Can you validate it? Can you show me how you came to this conclusion? And are you inserting your own opinion into this? You know, if you're investigating terrorism and, you know, obviously nobody likes terrorism, but maybe your father is in the military and, you know, you're biased towards that. You don't want to put your own experiences into it. And reporting, I feel like a lot of people gloss over reporting because it's the boring part of open source intelligence, but I think that it makes a good analyst if you can take your information and then report it to somebody, because you can collect all of the information in the world, but it doesn't mean anything unless you can put it into a format that somebody who has no idea what's going on can read it and get the point. So some things I practice in like the corporate realm of open source intelligence is, you know, obviously you need to be thorough in what you're investigating and reporting on. You know, I try to use non-definitive language, like, you know, we always say possibly, or, you know, this may happen, this could happen, because you don't really know. And you don't want to inject that into the data so that your client thinks that it could actually happen, and you're just kind of, you know, you're guessing. You want to be able to tell a story. This is super important when you're doing open source intelligence. You have to be able to show someone exactly how you found the data, what it means to them, and what they can do about it. Because if you don't show all those sections of the story, then it doesn't mean much to them. You also want to report for your audience. If you're working in the field and you have to report to executives, you will tailor your report differently than you would if you were reporting to peers or you know, IT people. So you always have to remember in the back of your head, like, what does this mean and why do I care? Because that's what everyone is going to be asking. Whether it's an internal review of your report or it's going to a client, they want to know why they're getting this, what this means, and why they care about it. Okay, so I put together a use case of kind of some tools. I didn't want to just throw a bunch of tools at you because that's boring. I also didn't want to do demos of them live because that is terrifying. So I put together a use case using Alex Jones because I thought, who do I not care about putting their information out? And I came to Alex Jones. If that offends anybody, I'm sorry, but I don't know. So if you don't know who Alex Jones is, he's a right-wing host of InfoWars. He's a conspiracy theorist and a paleo-conservative. I don't know. That's what he calls himself. So for this, I guess, demo, I'm going to keep a bar of things we know on the side because I want to show how you can pivot through on information that you've gathered. And as an example, Sinwindy on Twitter has made all these, I guess, pivot charts, and I think they're really cool. And you can go to his site and you can download them. All right, so when I'm looking into a business entity like Alex Jones' company, which is InfoWars, I usually start with the site OpenCorporates. It gives a lot of information You can see here we have his name, his title, address. We also have his other companies, Planet, InfoWars, InfoWars Health, which is terrifying. The incorporation date, officer names, just a lot of info on that first page without even having to dig deeper. Little Sis is another site that I use a lot for corporate recon. It gives a lot of the same information, but it also adds like political relationships, which we kind of know Alex Jones's, their other affiliations, and if they give any money to any charities, which he does not. So Alex Jones, you know, has his radio talk show, his high school. It has his birthday. I mean, all this information is publicly available anyway. It's not like I'm doxing him. We have his middle name and his father's name and his father's job. So if we look a little further and we do a Google search, we can see that he has a lot of trademarks, a ton of trademarks for other companies. Prison Planet, InfoWars, and there's probably like 20 of them listed there. The FDA, there was also a letter out that gave, I guess it was a warning letter for a coronavirus product, and it has an email address on there, so that gives me the naming conventions of their email for that company. So I'll show that in another part. Wikipedia always gives a bunch of information for famous people. So just in the Wikipedia profile, you have his wife, you know, when he was divorced, his kids, how many kids he has, that he was arrested. So that's a lot of information that you can use to find other information. Spiderfoot is one of my favorite tools. There is a free version and a pay version. So this I use the pay version for. And if you put in the domain, it gives you a whole bunch of information back. I, not coming from a networking background, don't always know what a lot of this information means. So I tend to focus on things like the emails that come back, you know, the IP addresses, social media stuff. It gives like correlations, and there's actually OSINT information. I think it's one of the tabs. Co-hosted sites, anything that'll give me another pivot point. So here we can see a bunch of emails that it pulled out with, it runs it through, I think it's Scylla, and it gives you the breaches that those emails are found in. So we can see that Alex Jones at Infowars.com is found in exploit.in. But we also get a lot of email addresses, not just with the breaches, but we can see a lot of email addresses that we can then plop into Google or other websites and kind of see where they show up. And yeah, you can see that Alex Jones at Infowars.com. So that's obviously an important one that was used there. RiskIQ is another site that I use a lot for domain recon. And now I know you can get the whois information from a lot of places online. I just like the way that RiskIQ displays it. I think it's very easy to read and see what's going on. So we can see here that who it's registered to, his address, the registrar. That it just gives us some more stuff. We have the IPs that are listed for him, for InfoWars and freespeechsystems.com. So freespeechsystems.com is like the overall company that I guess runs InfoWars and all the other LLCs. Telex is another site that I use. So if you put in the domain like infowars.com, it'll show you a bunch of stuff. Like this one shows HTML files, text files, PDF files, you know, pastes, all kinds of stuff that shows up related to that domain. You know, we can probably find the breach info that was listed on the other site over there. And another thing that I like to pull from Spiderfoot and RiskIQ are ad trackers, because you can take that number and drop it into RiskIQ or Spiderfoot, and it'll search all the websites that are also linked to that Google ad tracking number. So sometimes you can find sites that they don't necessarily advertise, but they're using their ad number. The website hunter.io and emailrep.io I use daily. I really like hunter.io. You can take a domain like Free Speech Systems and you can drop it in, and it will show you all the emails that show up online registered to that. So like if I drop that in, this one only gave me 2. But if you were to put in like a military address or a Navy address or something like that, you would get all of their emails. So that it shows you the naming conventions of their emails, which then again allows you to search other places for them. And if you are doing like military recon, you can find out what their specific area, how they're naming it, and you can look up information about them. So this one gave me 2, which wasn't that great, but it gave me the one on the bottom, the domains register Jones Productions. I could search that and find more information. I think I found some social media profiles, which I don't know why you would use that for a social media profile, but emailrep.io gives you information on, well, it gives you a lot of information. If you drop in the like Alex Jones at infowar.com, it's for marketing. It'll show you the reputation, whether it's malicious, when it's last seen. And then at the bottom, it'll show you profiles, and it'll show you all the social media that it is linked to. Now, Alex Jones is a little weird because he's actually been banned from a lot of social media recently. So a lot of that is pretty empty, unfortunately. As you can see here, I'm sure he had a ton more social media profiles a few months ago. What's My Name is a great new tool. Well, it's not necessarily new, but the web application is new. So it's made by WebBreacher and OSINT Combine and a few others you can see listed there. So you drop in the email, and it'll run through all the social media, and it'll tell you where it's showing up online. Now, they're not always accurate. It might not be the same Alex Jones is showing up, because you would drop in a username. You could drop in their Facebook username or something else you find online. I just dropped in the email here because I don't have any of his usernames. They're all gone. And I got Spotify, a Code Mentor. For Free Speech Systems, I got eBay and Spotify. So that just gives you some more points to research. One really cool place I like to go to remind myself what tools exist for social media search, since there are so many tools, is Technizet's start.me page. You can usually just Google that. And she has all the tools listed. So I usually, I know, like, I want to investigate Twitter, and then I'll go to her start.me page and I'll just go through them and find out which one matches what I'm looking to do. So I just want to pause here. Does anybody have any questions before I move on? Because I feel like I'm going really fast.
I haven't
No?
seen anything in the chat questions, and you're doing great.
All right. Nobody wants to yell at me? Good?
Doesn't seem it.
Do you have an overall list of these tools, or will this presentation be made available?
I'll make it available.
Cool, thanks.
Okay. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions, I will go on. So at this point, you can see we have a lot of things we've gathered, and this is not at all a comprehensive list of things we could have gathered from those sites. They're purely just a few minutes on each of those sites. So I started looking into social media, and like I said, I kind of hit a dead end with him. So I started looking into his family and found pretty quickly that his family talks a lot online. There's usually somebody in a family who talks a lot online, and if you're looking into them, you can usually find that one person and they will give up all of their info for you. So Rex Jones is his son, and I would normally not put their names up, but he is a public personality. He's been on the show, so I felt comfortable doing that. And Kelly Jones is his ex-wife, also very public. So they talk a lot about troubles they're having in the family. You know, she doesn't know where her kids are. Just lots of stuff that I don't know that you could use to look into court documents maybe. You could narrow down dates based on their posts and find documents online. So I started looking towards his location, thinking like how much information is out there on where he lives. His son posts a lot of pictures and videos on Twitter showing the whole inside of his house. If you search Alex Jones, Austin, Texas, because we know that he lives in Austin, that was on the Wikipedia, we get a ton of, I mean, a lot of them are very white power sites, but they basically dox his address out there, which is 6601 Dogwood Creek Drive. There's a overall picture of his house. So that's a lot of info. It's a gated community, so I'm sure he's safe, but it still seems like a lot of info to me. Another site for corporate reconnaissance is CorporationWiki. Sorry, I'm reading a comment. Sorry, what is the name or site of the lady? Yeah, technisstart.me page. Sorry. All right, CorporationWiki is another site that I like to use for corporate recon. I really like how they give these little node charts of the connections that the companies have. So if we search for, I think I searched for companies located at that address, he registers pretty much all of his companies at his actual address. So you can see down below how they're connected, like Jones Productions is to Alex Jones, InfoWars. He had an old production company called A. Emmerich, which is his middle name that we saw on Wikipedia. He has a, I guess, book or publishing company, Austin Shiprock Publishing. So all those we could research further. So those become more pivot points. The Jones Report LLC gave us a P.O. box. So I searched the P.O. box and got a bunch of other business. Basically, he has like a ton of LLCs. If you count all of his herbal companies as well, I mean, there's probably 30 or more. So I hope he pays someone well to keep track of all those. But they also give key people like his wife. It says for free speech systems, the key people are Kelly Jones, that's his wife. Alex Jones, I'm assuming, is a relative. I don't know who Lydia Hernandez is, but these are all more names that you could look into. So I started doing some Google dorking at this point, thinking that maybe I could, like if I was going to try and, I don't know, hack into his company, I would want to know who the system administrators are. So I did a Google dork, which is free speech systems, and then you do site linkedin.com. I use this daily at work, and it's always very helpful. It'll bring up everybody who is listed for free speech systems and their LinkedIn page, and you don't actually have to log in to see them. So you can go through the list without having a LinkedIn account, which is really nice. You could also add like and system administrator in quotes as well if you wanted to target it a little more. So I found this person here who was a system administrator at Free Speech Systems. So I found some of his, I went to What's My Name and I dropped in his information, and I found a lot of social media profiles. And I went through these, and some of them are not real, but some of them are. So those would be more pivot points that you could look into. He doesn't really give away too much information in the LinkedIn profile. That's not always the case. A lot of times people post their resumes, and it's all the systems that they worked on while they were at the company, just everything. So if you're looking for OSINT, LinkedIn is like the place to be. So once I have some emails, I usually go to HaveIbeenPoned, and I try and see, because I'm usually reporting on companies and what an adversary would want to do with the information they have. So usually they would want to find breach data and then find passwords. So I use HaveIbeenPoned to show, how many breaches these are in, which is a fair amount, 12 for Alex and InfoWars. 7, 8. So those would all be things worth looking into. Additionally, we have the system administrator's hobbies and stuff that is listed in LinkedIn. Those could be like phishing campaigns, things you could use in that. Like if I was into, golfing, you might target that. Another site I like to use is Dhash, but Dhash is not free. I think it's like $14 a month or something for breach data. So here are some Google Dorks that I think are important. I just wanted to list some out. So when you get the presentation, you can go through them. It makes it really easy to find documents, especially for corporate recon. If you have a domain that has a lot of documents and you want to go through them, you can do like a site and then the domain and file type PDF or file type PowerPoint, and it'll just give you a list of all of the files. You can also use there's a program called FOCA, which basically scrapes all the metadata off of the websites for you. So it'll pull all the documents and stuff and put them in a file.
Ray, is this also a good time for you to take a couple questions?
Sure. I can do my best.
All right. So are you doing all this as a sock puppet from a secure VM, or do you have a decision tree that leads you to what method or platform that you use?
The right answer is yes, I use a sock puppet from a VM. The true answer is no, I'm usually too lazy to do that. Unless I'm looking into somebody that I really don't want to know that I'm looking into them. Then I'll use a VM.
Cool. Let's see. And another question is there a free version that does what HaveIbeenPoned does?
I think if you use Intel, what is it? Intel.xo, I have it on the other page, but Intelligence X, if you use that, I believe that gives you the breach data for free.
Cool.
I always use the HaveIbeenPoned API, so I mean it's always paid for me, but
Right.
I don't know. I think Intelligence X does it for.
And Jack wants to know how he can get a copy of the Google Dorks.
Oh, yes. So at the bottom there, the exploitdb.com, that has a whole list of them, or you can Google like Google Dorks, and you can find a bunch of like GitHub lists of Google Dorks. You just kind of got to pick which ones matter towards what you're doing.
And Jack, there's a book written by Johnny Long about Google Dorks, Google hacking, and it was the I think probably the first book written about those kinds of things, and is like the Bible of it. And that link that Ray has at the bottom is a lot of Johnny Long's work that he donated to ExploitDB. So that's there.
Yeah, and I certainly don't memorize. I mean, there's a few that I use daily, like the file type ones and the LinkedIn one, but usually I have to have the database up and look for what I need.
And Crystal was asking a little bit more about Foca, or maybe even PyFoca is another version of Foca. Like, where can she get that? What is that? A little bit more.
Yeah. So Anthony posted the link. That is the correct link. 11 Paths Foca. I forget what it's an acronym for something.
Yeah.
You know it. But it's really cool. You just drop in like the URL and it'll pull all the metadata for you.
Okay. Yeah, it's let's see. Of course, I just Googled it. Fingerprinting organizations with collected archives.
Yes.
One of the things that I really like to use it for is like either Microsoft documents or images, and pulling out all the metadata inside of there. And one of the things that you can often find, if you don't know a company's username format, then a lot of times their usernames are stored inside the metadata, and you can kind of pull things out that way as well.
Or a lot of the times I'll use like if it's a site that has lots of users on it, if it's like a government website or something where there's lots of people working there, you can use that and it'll pull all the emails for you, and then you can kind of go through them and see if any have leaked information online, or if you can find them on LinkedIn and they're letting out all kinds of details about the company.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's a free tool that's available. I think also if you have like Kali Linux, it's pre-installed, so you can kind of.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
I believe so. Okay. So before she gets going, does anybody else have any other questions? Okay.
Cool.
Oh. Have you figured out a good way to scrape LinkedIn for a company employee list?
So I know there's a way that you can, maybe you know the answer to this, but I know there's a way you can scrape, you can export all the information from your links, like your friends, through just one link you drop in the top, and then it'll export all of it into an Excel file or a CSV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there that people write for scraping LinkedIn, but one of the problems is that LinkedIn is extremely aware that you do that. So they change things quite often, and that breaks the tools very often. But there's one feature that they really can't fix to prevent it, and that's their next. So when you search for a company, if it's like a really big company, they're going to have lots and lots of employees, and they only put so many employees per page, and they'll usually have like, clicked next for the next page for it. And one of the things that you can do if you use a tool like Burp Suite is that you can use Burp Intruder tool. Once you can kind of figure out how that next thing works, you can just kind of run the Burp Intruder to go through and scrape all the next pages. So it just kind of cycles right through page 2, page 3, page 4, all the way through, and use that. And another one that you can scrape from is Zoom Info. It has some good information, but they do also have some blocks in place after just 5 pages. But I think that gets you about 100 employees at that point as well.
Yeah, I kind of do that with Hunter.io. I believe it's pay after so many 50 searches or something. So I'll use like the plugin Instant Data Scraper, because you can't export to a CSV either. So you'll have this list of emails that's great, but you can't get any of them. Like you can't copy them into anything. So I'll use Instant Data Scraper, and it'll just scrape everything off the page for me and put it in a CSV.
Javier wants to know, when using FOCA, does your IP show up, or do you hide your IP?
I believe it hides it. But I honestly don't know the answer to that. I've used FOCA, but not a whole lot.
Cool. Let's see. Jack's asking, what is the best paid personal information tool? He has a lot of links. Not sure which premium service is actually worth the money. Do you have a recommendation on a paid service?
I know the paid service I use. I don't know if it's the best one. I use Pipple or People. I don't know how you say it. Pipple?
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one I use. I like that it gives you the sources of all the information, and I like that it gives you the social media right there for you to click on.
All right. I think that's all.
And it actually does dating profiles now. I believe it pulls that into the sources too, which is pretty cool.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, it looks like that's all the questions for now. So
all right, cool.
Let's get back to your thing.
I don't think I have too much more. So.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I just kind of demoed how I used a Google Dork to find PDFs on Infowars.com. It didn't really have too much. I think freespeech.com would probably have better, but it doesn't really, I don't know if it's active anymore, or I don't really understand how he has all these set up. It would take way longer than a week to figure out. But I was able to find like their broadcasting agreement and some of their other weird PDFs that they're giving to people. You could imagine if you were looking at like another corporate entity or like a government entity or something, finding PDFs or CSV files or PowerPoint files would be really good to do with Google Dorks. I also did the robots TXT. I don't see anything too interesting there. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know what Paul Revere is. Yeah, so this is the end of my presentation. I just wanted to kind of wrap up and show like all the stuff that we found base level, just going through a few tools, like a minute each on each tool. We found all of these pivot points that we can use to find way more information and put together a report on Alex Jones if you wanted to. And I just wanted to end with this beautiful picture. So I listed a few websites out here that I think that everybody should follow. OSINT Curious, obviously, if you're into OSINT, they do 10-minute tips that are really cool and give a lot of information in a very short period of time. Week in OSINT is great. Trace Labs, Bellingcat. And then I just listed a bunch of people to follow that I learned a lot from. A lot of what I learned was through Twitter, so definitely be on Twitter if you're into OSINT. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?